Welcome back to the Alternate History Channel, the place where we question the very fabric of our past and speculate on how a different thread could have drastically altered the tapestry of history. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button, like this video, and let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. We love hearing your insights and interpretations. Today we journey back to the early 1940s, to a time when tensions were mounting and the world was teetering on the precipice of global conflict. We all know the story, December 7th, 1941, a date which, as Franklin D. Roosevelt declared, will live in infamy. The day when Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, propelling the United States into the throes of World War II. But what if that fateful day passed without incident? What if the bombs never fell on Pearl Harbor? Join us today as we traverse the threads of an alternate history and explore a world in which Japan never attacked Pearl Harbor. In the first half of the 20th century, Japan was a nation on the rise, a bright star in the East. It had swiftly adopted Western technologies, modernized its military, and was expanding its territories with a bold vision for a greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere. This sphere was to be a united Asian empire, spanning from Manchuria to the Dutch East Indies under the auspices of the Japanese Empire. Relations with other Asian nations varied. Some, like Manchuria, had already fallen under Japan's control, while others, like China, were being aggressively pursued. Southeast Asian countries were seen as potential sources of much-needed natural resources, especially oil. This need for resources was one of the main driving forces behind Japan's expansive ambitions. The relationship with the United States, however, was a different matter entirely. America was not only a potential obstacle to Japan's plans, but was becoming an increasingly hostile one. As Japan's imperial ambitions grew, the US reacted by implementing economic sanctions and embargoing strategic resources, most notably oil. For a nation dependent on imports for 80% of its oil, this was a significant blow. Japan was left with two stark choices: comply with American demands and abandon its imperial ambitions, or escalate the situation with a preemptive strike. History shows us they chose the latter, but what if they had chosen differently? Let's imagine a world where Japan takes the diplomatic route, seeking to negotiate with the US rather than resorting to war. Perhaps key figures within the Japanese government, such as Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, who was personally opposed to war with the United States, could have swayed the decision. In our alternate timeline, the Japanese High Command decides to pause their aggressive expansion and turns its focus on stabilizing its control over the territories it already possesses. Concurrently, they engage in diplomatic negotiations with the United States, leveraging their shared interest in preventing further communist expansion in Asia, a concern brought on by the rising power of the Soviet Union. Japan puts forth a peace proposal to the US, offering strategic cooperation against communism in exchange for a gradual lifting of the embargo and a recognition of Japan's control over its new territories. In our timeline, a similar proposal was in fact made, but it was rejected by the US as they demanded a full withdrawal from China, which was unacceptable to Japan. But what if, in this alternate timeline, the US was willing to compromise? What if Japan agreed to withdraw from certain territories and promised to respect the independence of others in exchange for the resources it desperately needed? In this timeline, the attacks on Pearl Harbor never happen. Instead, a tense diplomatic dance takes place as two Pacific powers seek to reconcile their interests. The result is a fragile peace between Japan and the United States, a peace that would alter the course of World War II and change the face of the Pacific in ways we can only imagine. As the ink dries on the agreement between the United States and Japan, the world watches. A sigh of relief sweeps across the Pacific. Pearl Harbor remains a naval base, not a war memorial, and the United States maintains its position of neutrality towards Japan. Despite the non-aggression pact, the United States continues to support its allies in Europe, yet without the impetus of a direct attack, America's entry into the war is delayed. This changes the dynamics of World War II significantly. Japan, still nominally a member of the Axis powers, finds itself in a delicate situation. They maintain their alliance with Germany and Italy, but without initiating war against the US, Japan focuses its resources and military might on consolidating its power in Asia and the Pacific. Japan continues its war in China, seeking to bring the vast nation under its control. Without the need to defend against a US attack, more resources and troops can be directed towards this front. The war in China becomes more intense, more brutal. The dream of the Greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere begins to take shape as Japan coerces other Asian nations to join this economic and political alliance, presenting it as an Asian alternative to Western colonialism. In the Pacific, the Dutch East Indies and British colonies like Singapore, without the direct military support of the United States, are pressured to negotiate with Japan for their survival, leading to a shift in power in Southeast Asia. The Japanese empire expands, though not through outright conquest, but via a network of puppet states and intimidated allies. Meanwhile, the delayed entry of the United States into World War II grants Germany more time to reinforce its positions in Europe and deepen its incursion into the Soviet Union. This reshapes the European theatre significantly, making the fight for liberation even more grueling. When the United States finally enters the fray, they face a well-entrenched and expansive Axis power, necessitating a longer and more brutal campaign. This extension of the war results in an increased cost in terms of human life and resources, casting an even darker shadow over World War II's legacy. Despite the heightened difficulty, the Allies' combined strength and resolve eventually turn the tide, but the scars of this protracted conflict leave a markedly different post-war world in their wake. Post-war Japan would be a significant world power. The shape of its empire would largely depend on how successful it was in integrating its conquered and coerced territories into the Greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere. Would it be able to reinvent itself as a beacon of Asian unity, or would it be viewed as another colonial oppressor? Would the United States and Japan eventually clash in the ensuing Cold War, or would they find common ground against the spread of communism? In this alternate history, World War II may have played out very differently, leading to a world that could be almost unrecognizable. The Pacific might have seen the rise of a united Asia under Japan's banner, changing the dynamics of global politics in the 20th century and beyond. And so, we come to the end of our speculative journey. A world in which the bombing of Pearl Harbor never occurred presents us with an intricate tapestry of what-ifs. In our journey through this alternate history, we've seen how different alliances could have formed, how conflicts may have evolved differently, and how the geopolitical landscape could have shifted. Such hypothetical scenarios are more than mere flights of fancy. They enable us to appreciate the delicate intricacies of our past and understand the profound impacts of individual events on the course of world history. As we conclude this fascinating exploration, we encourage you, our valued viewers, to continue the discussion. What other repercussions do you envision in a world where Pearl Harbor was never attacked? How would this have shaped the present day? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the Alternate History channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into the riveting realm of alternate history. Until then, keep questioning, keep speculating, and as always, enjoy exploring the endless possibilities that history offers. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.